What's up, YouTube and Twitter, social media? I thought I'd come today and try to make a short video kind of describing how I see Dharma, basically. Dharma, purification, what it means, an easy way to understand it and how to apply it to one's life. So Dharma is kind of a Buddhist, Hinduist concept, means a lot of things. There's not any one meaning, but for me, it's kind of mental science, spiritual science, and how it works. And so I'd like to just use this blackboard, sorry it's a little crude, but as a way to kind of describe it in a simple format. And so basically you have, a human being. And a pure human being, like when you're born, when you're a baby, as you can see, there's nothing blocking it. It's pure light within. It's just it's pure. It's the total purified state. So in a way, what Dharma and mental science is helping us do is to come back to that youth, that purified state. And this is the best way that I can describe it. And so when we're young, the Buddha liked to talk about something called clay pots. So I'm doing my best to make clay pots underneath these are all clay pots. Okay. So we have many clay pots within. Underneath, it's part of our spiritual, it's part of our emotional, mental self that's within. And what are these clay pots? So these clay pots are the containers for our own cravings and addictions, our desires, what we crave from day to day. Everybody's different. So what I crave might be different from what you all crave, but it all works the same way. And so, when you're young, you might start to crave when you're very young, maybe one of the first things you like candy or sweets. So let's go ahead and put sweets in here. So we got sweets here, and let's as time goes by, then maybe you might have like meat. You start to crave meat. So we have meat and sweets. Over time, we have maybe you get a little bit older, and nowadays, this is becoming such a more big deal. But it's crazy that our children are doing now. But you have like gaming, video games, social media. These type of things are kind of coming to our youth more, and it affects us as adults too. So we're going to say right here, we're going to say gaming, social media. Another thing that as we get older, we might really like coffee. So let's put coffee in here. And then, some other big things. Let's go ahead and put one more pot down here. Let's put in here eventually, like alcohol. And let's go with smoking. And then lastly, a big one, a big clay pot is the desire for like sexual release or orgasm. So that's either from sex or from masturbation, from pornography, these type of things. So we're going to do a big sex down at the bottom. So these are just an example of like, 7 cravings, pots of cravings. They can be other things. Certain people are addicted to hard drugs. Some people are addicted to shopping. Some people are addicted to just accumulating things. But these are just a general an idea. We got sweets, meat, gaming, social media, coffee, alcohol, smoking, and sex. There's 7. And so what happens is whenever we're young, we start building up these cravings. So like, let's say sweets. So sweets are going to create these cravings that come up, and they come up within us. Okay? And they are going to create, these lines, these strands of craving. And then we have, we have a lot of cravings for sweets, and then maybe meat. So meat is going to come in here over time. And then, more and more our youth and even our adults are affected by this craving for video games, for social media, for electronic use. Okay? And you start to see what happens here, in our youth, that we were this purified source, that it was clear in here, which is that's our natural, the way we are naturally when we're born. But over time, we start to become more toxic inside our spirituality, and it starts to clog this all up. And so basically, over time, maybe coffee starts to come into it, okay? And then coffee, our pot of coffee, you drink coffee for the first time, and then that becomes a craving, okay? And then you have substances like alcohol. Alcohol becomes something that we crave. It's, as you can see, all of these things, sweets, meat, gaming, coffee, alcohol, all these cravings that we have, smoking, it starts to basically detoxify our spirits. And one of the biggest ones, is sex. Is this desire, this urge for sexual release, being with somebody, or even masturbation or whatnot. Just this desire for the sexual release. And so basically, Dharma, you can if you want to live your life doing all of these things and doing as much as you can and just letting go, that's your right. But maybe you have a desire. Say you want to be pure as you can be, and you want to overcome your urges. Well, say your biggest problem is alcohol, and say you really want to stop drinking. Well, it's very difficult to just quit off drinking and just going cold turkey, or anything. Hard drugs. If you have an eating issue where you can't stop yourself from eating, or if you can't stop yourself from watching pornography or taking any type of substances, is what the Dharma is so amazing, is that these cravings are just going to keep coming. But is what you can do is you can focus on these smaller things that are easier to overcome. Like say maybe it's hard for you to give up alcohol or sex or any of these things, but you can give up sweets. So basically, if you give up sweets, that might be what's easy for you to give up, is to give up sweets. Every time that this craving, your pot of sweets, is going to arise, it's going to come up here, and you're going to notice it. You're going to say, man, I really need to eat sweets, but you don't do it. Then basically this pot, it's going to come up here, it's going to come into fruition, and then it's going to rise away and pass away. And your clay pot of sweets is going to continue to go down, and if you just don't fulfill those sweets or going through with eating sweets, then that pot is going to go lower. And is what's going to happen there. This is about the process of gaining free will, of gaining willpower. So willpower, if you didn't have the willpower to overcome something that you wanted to give up, like alcohol or sex or smoking or any of these things, social media, gaming, if you can give up some of the smaller ones like sweets, then it's going to be easier for you to give up something like coffee. If you can give up sweets first, then you can start to get, next thing, that every time that you give up one and it rises and passes away, a new pot is going to come up. So you might say, okay, I'm going to give up sweets. The next thing would be like coffee. If you can give up coffee, then this is going to basically eliminate this pot of coffee craving underneath. It's going to rise and pass away. But look, you have all these other things: meat, gaming, smoking, alcohol, sex, or whatever, shopping. It could be whatever types of cravings that you have within. Every single time that you're giving up, you have the willpower to overcome one of these smaller cravings, then it becomes that much easier to overcome the bigger cravings. That's the essence of Dharma. And so basically you give up the smaller things. For myself, like if I can give up like coffee, if I can give up like meat, then it becomes much easier for me to give up smoking. If I give up smoking, then it becomes easier for me to give up alcohol. And what happens? What happens when you start to give up these things and they're rising and passing away? Your clay pots are getting lower and lower and lower, and your natural energy, your golden source of energy that we had when we were babies comes back. Okay? So this is for everybody to try, to experiment with. You just keep on giving up one. Start with sweets, give up coffee, give up smoking. You're giving up, if you can do those, then it's easier to give up your, video game habits or social media habits. Those are very difficult because gaming and social media are not socially stigmatized. People don't think that they're a problem, but anything that has a craving is blocking your source of natural energy. So once you can give up this one thing, sweets, coffee, it becomes easier to give up smoking. It becomes easier to give up gaming. And then, if you want, you don't have to give up meat. The craving for meat and the craving for food are different. Okay, so basically, you're going to have two separate cravings there. You're going to have a craving for meat. You give that up, then it becomes easier. Then you can give up alcohol, and it just keeps going until you have full self-control. And then once that happens, all of these inner cravings that are within start to clear up. All your pots are clearing up, and your natural source comes back. This is like a living meditation. It's not like a meditation that you have to sit down and whatnot. And although that might help, if you're having an issue with having a craving that's arisen and it hasn't passed away, then maybe meditate for 5 minutes or so, just doing easy breathing meditations. But this is more or less the system of Dharma, that we have all these different clay pots within, and we're just overcoming the easier ones, which gives us a little bit more willpower to overcome the bigger ones. And you just keep going, you keep going, you keep going, until all of these cravings that are coming within have started to recede. The clay pot all our clay pots are going down, and naturally we're getting more energy, we're getting more clarity, our bodies are healing up, we're coming back to that time when we're babies and we're naturally shining. It's sort of like taking a drink from the Holy Grail, but it's very difficult. This is much more difficult than many forms of yoga, many types of exercise, many types of meditation, because this takes every day. And just, if you're aware of it, just know that each one of these clay pots, whatever your desire is, there's only so much cravings within. But one person might quit alcohol and they feel it. They don't stop themselves from smoking, or they don't stop themselves from eating, or they don't stop themselves from social media or game or pornography or sex or any of these things, or drugs. So they say to themselves, why aren't I feeling better? Because you have to notice that each one of these is a clay pot. So one thing's going to rise, pass away, another thing's going to rise, pass away. And if you focus on each of them, that's how you can start to basically de-age yourself. You can start to feel better, have more clarity. And this is the way that I see Dharma, and I think that anyone can try it and see if it works for you. So this is the first time that I've basically tried to explain it. It's very crude, but I hope that you might have learned something from this, and feel free to send me a message or anything if you have any questions. This is the basis of Dharma. So thank you so much. Have a good one.